Hey there, everybody. Welcome to this month's episode of the Work with Purpose podcast. I'm Randy Mahoney, your host, and so glad that you are with us on this month's episode. If you are new to our show, I want to welcome you to the podcast. We're a seasonal career podcast, and what our goal is with each episode is that we want to help you go from career confused to being a purposeful person. And the way that we do that is that in each episode, we work to give you advice, education, and encouragement to help you on your career journey. And I work really hard to try to package all that in about 20 to 30 minutes during the time that we are in our podcast seasons. So that's pretty much the quick view of our podcast. Glad that you are here. This month, in this episode, we are continuing our topic called Your Skills and Abilities. This month's topic is Your Skills and Abilities Part 2. So as we start with this, I want to put my slides on the screen here. As we get into this month's topic, I wanted to give you just a quick recap of last month's episode. So real quick, last month we started to talk about your skills and abilities. And the big thing I wanted to make sure that you knew was that your skills and abilities, those are two different words and they have two different meanings with it. Also in that episode, I talk with you about a couple of ways that you could think about skills and think about abilities in a different way. And then I also gave you a really practical example of trying to think about what could be some skills and abilities for a really common entry-level job of a customer service representative. But if you want to check out that episode, you can actually look in the show notes below this video. If you're watching us on the YouTube version of our show, or if you're looking in the show notes of your favorite podcast app, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can see a link for that video, Season 6, Episode 1. Definitely, I would encourage you to consider checking that out. If you're new to our podcast, to really get the full elements of this teaching. I won't go into all of it there, but that's just a quick recap. Again, I encourage you to check that one out. All right, so after that, as we move right along, for this month's episode, I wanted to, again, we're starting Your Skills and Abilities Part 2, and the last episode, really where we hammered home on our point was, it's really important to assess your skills and abilities and really understand where you are so you can think about where you want to go in your skill development. In this month's episode, I want to give you the other aspects of what I believe it means to really understand your skills and your abilities so that you can work as a purposeful person, right? So you can work in a very purposeful way in your career. And I'll talk more about that as we get through this. But in this month's episode, the other aspects we're going to look at of what it means to develop your skills and abilities. We're going to talk about, developing your skills and abilities. And then also that when it comes to skills and abilities, your mindset matters. Your mindset is important. So again, we'll talk through that as we go through this month's episode, those three elements together. And then the other thing I'll say to you was mindset, that it's something that is really all-encompassing over this whole entire process as you think about assessing your skills and abilities and as you work to develop your skills and abilities. So that's a really quick version of where we're going in this month's episode. I hope you're excited. Hope you stick around to the very end of this episode. I really think you're going to connect with this training on helping you think about your skills and abilities. My goal is to really take it from more of an abstract concept to really bring it down to a very easy to understand practical level so that as you go into your workplace, maybe tomorrow, maybe next Tuesday, next Wednesday, that you can really think about some of these ideas between now when you're seeing this episode and then the weeks for when our next podcast episode is coming up. All right, so that's where we're going with this month's episode. This month's topic on the Work with Purpose podcast, Your Skills and Abilities, Part 2. Hope you're excited about it. Hope that you stick around to the very end of this episode. My goal is to really want to take this topic of your skills and your abilities and really move it from more of an abstract, complex concept and really try to bring it down to something really practical and something that can really help you as you go about the work aspect of your life, that it can be something that you take with you as you go into work tomorrow, or if you go into work next Tuesday after you hear this episode, and that can really help you continue to work as as a purposeful person between now and the next handful of weeks and to when our next podcast episode is coming up. So, but we'll get into that in just a moment. But before we do that, I want to invite you that if you are finding this this podcast episode helpful and our career content helpful, I want to invite you to stay connected with our show. I want to invite you to stay connected with our show by joining our newsletter. Easy way for you to stay connected with everything we are doing here at the podcast. Once a month, we send out a newsletter. It's called the Career Catch-Up. Gives you kind of an overview of everything we've been working on during the month. But at the same time, during our podcast season, every 2 weeks during the week, we also send other email messages that are unique for our awesome subscribers as well. So I'd love to have you as part of that. If you want to get our newsletter, join our newsletter and join our email list with our podcast, easy way for you to do that is visit our website, WWPcast.com/newsletter. Again, that's WWPCast.com/newsletter. And then also I want to remind you, if you're finding our podcast helpful, if you've been around our podcast and some of our educational career content for a long time, if you're finding this encouraging and helpful to you, I do want to invite you. You can help us keep making career content. And we have a lot of different career training resources and materials to really serve and help you go from career confused to being a purposeful person on your career journey. If you want to check those out, see those resources and learn about other ways that you can help us keep making educational career content, you can visit our most important links page. Easy way for you to do that is visit our website, www.pcast.com/most important links. Again, www.pcast.com/most-important-links. There's a dash between each word. Again, one more time, if you are finding this podcast helpful and encouraging, and if you want to learn some other ways about how you can get our career resources, other career training resources and things like that, visit our website, visit our most important links page, www.pcast.com/most-important-links. And now, let's get back to our show. All right, welcome back to this month's episode of the Work with Purpose podcast. If you're just joining us, this month we're talking all about the topic of your skills and abilities, part 2. Before the break, we talked through just a quick recap of where we're going in this month's episode. I'm excited to move along in this month's topic with you. And so now I'll bring my slides back up here on the screen. Okay, so y'all should be able to see that just okay. So again, for this month's episode, with thinking about your skills and abilities, where I wanted to start here was the need for development, or the need for needing to develop your skills. And so what do I mean by that when I say the need to develop your skills? When it comes to your skills and abilities, it's not just about understanding what your skills are and just really understanding, oh yes, I need to grow in this technology tool. Oh, it would really benefit me to really learn about this first process, this second process to really help me and stuff like that. It's not necessarily just stopping at like writing a bulleted list, writing a numbered list, and things like that of things to be aware of. A part of you being a purposeful person in your career journey when it comes to your skills and abilities is the need to develop your skills, right? The need to intentionally develop, really think about how you can grow your skills, how you can sharpen your skills. I love what Stephen Covey says. I believe it's in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It talks about one of those habits. I believe it's called sharpen the saw. But it's really that whole idea of the things and skills in your life. How can you develop those? How can you refine those? But yeah, the important part is when it comes to your skills and abilities, you really have to have a plan for how you're going to grow in those skills. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about when it comes to your skills and abilities, we've said, hey, there's a need to develop, there's a need to intentionally plan out how you're going to grow in those different skills and abilities. Why is that important? Well, I talked a little bit about that. There's a need to just really think about that and just be planning and be mindful. But let's dig a little bit deeper. Why put time, effort and energy in wanting to grow your skills and grow your abilities? Well, I would really tell it to you like this, that growth does not happen on its own. It's not going to happen by osmosis. It's not going to happen automatically. I would really tell you that to grow in your skills and your abilities, to make that intentional plan, it means that you're going to have to be diligent and make the decision to be diligent, to be thorough, to make a plan and then execute it and follow that. So if you want to learn a little bit more about being diligent, if you look in the show notes, if you're watching the video version of our show here on YouTube, if you look below this video in our show notes, and also if you are watching or listening to us on the audio version of our podcast in your favorite podcast app, I've got a video in there about a little bit more about being diligent. I encourage you to check that out. It's kind of more of a career inspirational type of video of being diligent, being purposeful, things like that. And it kind of goes into more detail about being diligent. And I think that would be a real encouragement and a real help to you if you're hearing this, or if you're watching this and you might be in a really difficult job and it's hard to really think about being diligent. It's hard to think about, making a plan for your skills and your abilities and things like that. Part of you moving along in, as a purposeful person in your career journey, it's making that decision to be diligent, to really think about how could you develop and grow and get better in your skills and your abilities. But the other thing I thought of as I was prepping for this episode with you all today was it's really important to plan and develop your skills, because it could bring other positive effects in your current job or in your current workplace. What do I mean by that? Growth is contagious, especially in a work environment where encouragement is fostered, where growth is valued. So, so if your company, if one of their core values is, lifelong learning or continuing development and things like that, and you're seeing, your direct boss, you're seeing folks in your department really invest in, professional and personal development, things like that, your other coworkers will notice that. And if that's a value of your company, then my hope is that your company is going to have structure and processes to help folks who want to keep growing and keep developing to work through that. Whether it's professional development funds as one of your benefits as an employee, things like that. So you just never know. It could also be on the other aspect of things where, you choosing to be diligent and choosing to grow in your skills and your abilities. It might be contagious in your workplace that you inspire others to do the same thing. So you just never know. So that's a couple of things I thought about when it comes to the need to not just assess what your skills are, but really take that extra step of being diligent and planning to grow your skills and abilities. You have a really great opportunity that it could bring positive effects in your workplace, not just in your own life, but in your coworkers or your whole team or your whole department. All right, so we talked a little bit about more kind of the lofty things. Why is it important to develop your skills? But I want to give you just a couple ways that somebody could grow. Some of these you might have heard of. Some of them you might have maybe not looked into before, but I wanted to put these in front of you just as some ideas to get you thinking between right now and the weeks between our next month's episode. A couple ways that you could think about your skills and make a plan to grow, to develop them. Number one, you could really look at a professional certification. What I meant by this is, there are many online web-based certification types of resources today. Things I think about are LinkedIn Learning is a very popular one, Coursera, Udemy, edX, things like that. There's lots of different ways where, yes, there might be some financial investment on your end, but if you work through some of those different courses, they have these different programs have a large database of different types of skills, different types of concepts and topics and things like that. You might choose to pay for a certificate from those courses, so that if you work through the course material, and if you pay for the certificate, then at the very end, you can end up with a web-based certificate that's completely yours. And what's great about that is that can be, down the line, let's say if you are job hunting, or if you're trying to move into a different industry, or if you are trying to really continue to grow and develop. You paying for that certification course and getting that web-based certificate, that's something that's great to put on your resume. That's a really great kind of digitized work sample that you can have if employers kind of check for that or ask for that as part of your interview process and things like that. But that's one way that you can grow, is to look at and consider investing in a professional certification. The second one is you might consider doing a stretch project in your current workplace. Now, what do I mean by a stretch project? The best way I know to describe it is some type of task or project in your current industry where you might work in a project team, or you take on a completely new task that maybe you don't do all the time. And the point of the stretch project is that you are using a different specific skill or a different software tool or a different type of task that you don't always do. And so you're in your current workplace, but you're trying to work on something completely different to really help you grow, help you stretch. I'll give you a quick example, just as I'm, from a little bit of research for this episode. An example I think about is, let's say if you are currently a pizza delivery driver at a local pizza place. A stretch assignment might be maybe you have a week's worth of time where you shadow one of the managers, and you get to shadow them, opening the store, prepping all the financial things, opening up the system, right? Putting all the money into the cash registers, make sure everything is like that. You've got that week of time where maybe you shadow them. But then after that, as part of your stretch assignment, the next week after your shadowing time with your manager at the pizza place, maybe on that first Monday, the manager comes in like normal, but they ask you to kind of come in early, and they kind of watch you open the store as they've as you've shadowed with them, right? You kind of get the chance to kind of work through the processes, and there's a little bit of a safety net there with the manager to make sure that things are followed as they need to, if you might miss something or things like that. That's an example of a stretch assignment. Now, the one thing I'll say about a stretch assignment is that a lot of this will depend on the company that you're in, the culture of that company, even things as your relationship with your direct boss or the nature of your department and things like that. But the point is, a stretch project or a stretch assignment could be more of a low-hanging fruit kind of idea, where you could grow and develop and really start to use different skills, different abilities, or even different software tools and things like that to help you along the way. And then the third way that I think you can grow in your skills and your abilities is to look at and consider more formal education. So this one is more the kind of traditional idea of hey, if you're at a certain educational level, but you might want to go into a different industry, you maybe want to move up in position, and you are seeing from your career conversation with your manager, or if you've spoken with your human resources team, or you've seen a job posting, an internal job posting at your company, and you're finding out that you might need a higher degree level or specific skills and things like that. You might find that sometimes, to help you move along in your skills and your abilities, the way to do that is to really get you, more of a specific degree or certificate or things like that to kind of help you move along from that. All right. So again, I hope you're finding this helpful as we're kind of talking through this topic here of your skills and your abilities. I hope you're finding it practical and helpful. And maybe some of the resources we've talked through so far have been ones that you have seen already. As we kind of keep moving along in our episode here, I'll get my slides back up here. More than just trying to share with you ways that you can grow and just kind of drive home the need of, hey, it's important for you to grow in your skills and your abilities, and not just make the list of your skills, the list of your abilities, but make a plan to grow in those. The point of it is just what I finished saying. The point of your skills and your abilities is that you need to develop that. You need to make the decision. And my hope is that as we've talked through this episode so far, that it's really helping you, get inspired and really wanting to take stock and really not just stop at a numbered list of these 4 or 5 different skills that you might want to grow in, but to really help you take that next step of, for those 4 or 5 skills that you might want to develop, What are some actual ways that you could research that? And we'll get to that in just a minute. But before I do that, I want to give you a really quick example, something that I call the 5 years example. The 5 years example. Now, what is the 5 years example? I'll be transparent with you. I first heard about this analogy, this example a couple of years ago from someone who is actually in the business of helping, train business leaders and to start really great businesses. But they said the 5 year example like this. Imagine someone is working in a certain job or industry, and the 5 year example is that person in that company, they could repeat their first year 5 times, or they could get better every year for 5 years. So somebody's been at a company for 5 years, they have 2 options. They can repeat their first year 5 times, not growing, or the person who's been at that company 5 years, they can get better every year for 5 years. Why did I tell you that story? I told you that story because, and I hope what you're starting to see in this episode is that there's really a benefit, not only for you personally, but for others around you there's a benefit for you and others to help you not only think about your skills, but make that plan to grow in those. What I wouldn't want for you or anyone else is you to be at your job for 5 years, 10 years, any longer than that, 1 year even, and to just get in that spot of stagnancy and just coasting along, because it's really hard if you are in a place or a mindset where you might be drifting along or coasting along. It's hard to kind of shake out of that. The other thing too is this: if you find that you're really trying to grow and develop, but as you think about your workplace or your department or things like that, and you're seeing your department is very stagnant like that, if your company is like that, it can really, drag you down into a not great place of that stagnant thing as well, if you're not careful. So again, hope this episode's been encouraging and helpful for you, to really help you shake you out of the spot where you are, to really get you thinking and see, hey, it is important to not only list your skills and abilities, but then to take that other step, be diligent and make a plan to develop those, because it can not only help you and your longer term career ideas and goals, but also can positively help others around you. All right, so as we keep moving along, to give you that 5 years example, as we keep moving along in our discussion of your skills and abilities, part 2, I want to give you a quick, action that you can think about in the weeks and months between now and when our next podcast episode is. So let me get this on the screen for you. So between right now, when you're hearing our episode, and then our next month's podcast episode, as we've talked about your skills and abilities and the need to develop your skills, I want to encourage you to think about your current role, your current job that you're in. And then the next step to get you thinking, I want you to really think back or rewind this episode or listen to it again and look at the ways to grow that I mentioned to you, all those different examples. And then what I want you to do is, as you think about your current job, your current role that you're in, you look at those examples of ways that you could grow. I want you to take some action and really choose one of those to research specifically in the next 2 months. You might look at a certification course on LinkedIn. You might look at, hey, is there a more formal training or education or certificate that you could do? Would your company have professional development funds to pay for that as a possibility to help? That's the big point. I want to make sure that you're taking action on some of this information that we're talking through. So again, think about your current job and then take some extra steps in the next 2 months. Really look at those examples of ways to grow, and then pick one and research it to kind of help you continue to be purposeful in your career development journey. All right, so thanks so much for hanging with us so far on this month's podcast episode. Again, I hope you're finding it helpful and encouraging. If you are, I do want to invite you, if you're finding our podcast, again, practical, helpful, and encouraging, really meeting you where you are, I want to invite you to do 2 quick things. to kind of help us on our show as well. Number one, I want to invite you to subscribe to our podcast. There are a lot of different ways that you can do that. Number one, you can subscribe to us on YouTube. Again, you find us on YouTube, just search for the Work with Purpose podcast. That's a great way that you can connect with us on there and things like that. Also, you can subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, different things like that. Again, just search for the Work with Purpose podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and we'd love to have you connect with us there. Also, if you are connecting with our episodes here, if you like what we're doing with our educational career content, I want to invite you to leave us a rating or a review. We ask for just positive reviews, multiple stars and things like that, just because when you subscribe, when you leave us a rating or a review, what's great about that is that puts our educational career content in front of new folks who might be connecting with us for the first time. And so that just puts our information in front of new listeners and new viewers. So we'd love it if you not only subscribe, but if you would leave us a rating or a review wherever you are checking out this podcast. Easy ways that you can do that. You can actually just search for the Work with Purpose podcast in your favorite podcast app and walk through just leaving a rating or a review there. But if you are getting stuck, another really great way to help you leave a rating or a review is you can visit our website, www.pcast.com/feedback. Again, www.pcast.com/feedback. And there's some handy walkthroughs that I put there for you to, again, just leave us a rating or a review and consider subscribing to our podcast as well. We appreciate that in advance. Also, something I wanted to put in front of you as well is I want to invite you, if you are someone who might be job searching right now, if you know somebody who is job searching right now and you are feeling kind of stuck, and you're wanting to find remote work, I want to give you some purposeful steps about how you can find remote work or take steps to start your process of finding remote work. It's a career training that I put together called Real Help for Remote Work. It's available for you in 3 different formats. There's an audio version, a video-based version, and an audio-video bundle where the audio and video bundle are together. Each of these versions, it comes with a PDF workbook, transcript, copy of the slide deck, and things like that. I think you'll find it practical and helpful. If you're somebody who's wanting to work remote, but you're not sure where to start, if you're somebody who is wanting to work remote, but maybe you've spent the last 6 months looking on job boards and you're feeling defeated, I think this career training will be a huge help for you. So I want to invite you to take a look at our website and get my career training resource. It's called Real Help for Remote Work. You can learn more about it at www.pcast.com/real help for remote work. And there's dashes between each word. Again, www.pcast.com/real-help-for-remote-work. All right, welcome back to this month's episode of the Work with Purpose podcast. I'm so glad that you're joining us here on this month's episode. So far in this episode, we've been tackling the second part of our topic here. It's your skills and abilities, part 2. And so far, I've talked with you about. We've said it's not just important to start out by assessing or listing out your skills and your abilities, but we share with you about that it's important to be diligent and to make that choice, make that decision to actually develop your skills and develop your abilities as well. But as we kind of finish up this topic, I knew I wanted to put another aspect of skills and abilities in front of you so that to kind of help you finish well on this topic and really give you information that can be really helpful for you. So let me bring my slides up here as you're watching the video version of our show. And again, you can check us out on the YouTube version of our show and also get this podcast in your favorite podcast app. But with skills and abilities, the last part, and I would tell you probably the most critical part to help you understand this whole topic of your skills and your abilities in your career is it's your mindset. So I want to tell you that your mindset, my mindset, your mindset matters as you think about your skills and your abilities. So let me explain that a little bit more to you. When I say your mindset matters about your skills and your abilities, what I mean is your skills and your abilities are not for you. Your skills and your abilities are meant so that you can serve and help someone else. To push a little bit more, your skills and your abilities, they should lead you to an others focus and not a me focus. Now, I realize me saying all that to you, it can be very countercultural, because if you've been on social media any length of time, if you've seen what is talked about in the news and movies and things like that, you can see all day long pretty much that there is a me focus in our world today. And so that's one of the big things I want to make sure that you know, is that when it comes to your skills and your abilities, your mindset matters. And what I mean by that is, when it comes to your skills, really understand, and I encourage you to keep thinking on this, really understand that your skills and your abilities, it's not for you. It's not so that you can be great and you can be better, but it's really from a place that as you grow and develop your skills, you have the opportunity to serve and help somebody else who can benefit from your skills and your abilities. Now, I want to make sure you know. So as I was prepping for this episode, I knew that I couldn't get away from the idea that I had to tell you about that part. I had to tell you about your mindset is important. Your mindset matters as you develop your skills and abilities, and that's really because as a career coach. And I don't talk about this a lot on the podcast, and I realize it's not for everybody, but that's totally okay. As a career coach, I want you to know, I am a Christian, and that's the lens that I look through on the world. That's the place from where I serve and help people as a career coach, right? That kind of blends together in every single thing that I do. And so I'll tell you, I've not always had that whole mindset about serving someone else with my skills and abilities. But the reason that your skills are not for you is because the truth of the matter is that if you don't know it already, like God, I believe God who's made the world and everyone, and He's made you and He's made me. Whether you believe that or not, that's totally okay. But for this podcast, I think I can't stop talking about skills and abilities without letting you know that the Creator of the universe made you, and when He made you, He gave you skills and abilities, and then continues on that your skills and your abilities are not for you only, but they exist so that you can be diligent and grow in your skills and abilities so that you can serve and help somebody else. So I wanted to put that in front of you just to really help you understand that that's, as one caring person on the internet to another, I want to encourage you and I want to help you to consider resisting the me focus that might be everywhere today, and just really remind you that the Creator of the universe has given you skills and given you abilities, and just really understand that those skills and abilities don't stop with you. They're really designed to be aimed to help serve and help somebody else. So let's put all this together. If we've got these three elements here of your skills and your abilities, I would tell you that it really starts with really your mindset, how you think about your skills and your abilities, that they're not just for you. It's not about a me focus. It's about an others focus, right? That your skills and your abilities, they're designed to help you serve and help other people. That's this image here, this mindset of it's enveloped around how you assess your skills. It's enveloped around your plan and your diligence to really develop your skills. And really where this whole process should lead you is as you embrace that mindset of your skills are not just for you, but to serve others, it should really lead you to these other aspects, right? It should lead you from that mindset of your skills and abilities are designed to help you serve others. It should really to lead you with passion and guide you to a place of, hey, you're maybe more willing to list out or assess your skills, maybe more willing to list out and make a plan to develop your abilities. So I would say that's a great way to kind of sum up this topic of your skills and your abilities. I hope you found it encouraging and practical and useful for you. All right, so again, thanks so much for hanging in with this month's episode where we've talked about your skills and your abilities. I hope you found it useful. And as we wrap up this month's episode, I want to move next to a new segment we have this season, and that's called The Purposeful Point. All right, welcome back to this month's episode of the Work with Purpose podcast. This month for our Purposeful Point. Again, if you're new, the Purposeful Point, it's that one key concept, one key idea, one key takeaway for this month's episode to help you really leave this month's episode with one key thing in mind. Again, we call that the Purposeful Point. And this month's Purposeful Point is this, and I'll put it in front of you here. This month's Purposeful Point is to remember the chart that I just showed you earlier in this episode. Remember that 3-aspect chart. Remember that as you think about your skills and your abilities, remember that your skills, your abilities, they're not for you. They're designed so that you can serve and help someone else. And then in order to do that, in order to lean into that mindset of your skills and your abilities, it's important that you assess your skills and then take that extra step to develop those. So that's our Purposeful Point for this month's episode. Again, I hope you found it helpful and useful as we've kind of gone through this month's episode together. All right, so that brings us to the end of this month's episode of the Work with Purpose podcast. I wanna say to you as we wrap up here, thank you so much for watching and listening and viewing our episode, whether you're on the YouTube version of our show or if you are connecting with us in your favorite podcast app. Thanks so much for hanging with us and connecting with us on this month's episode. And then also, as we kind of wrap up here, I want to invite you, if you have a career question, we would love to answer those, whether right now or in the weeks between our episodes. If you want to fill out our career question form, easy way for you to do that is to visit our website, WWPcast.com/ask. Again, WWPCast.com/ask. And then also, I want to remind you, if you're finding this career content helpful, I would invite you to consider supporting our work. We have a lot of different career trainings and career resources and things like that. We've got ebooks, career trainings, audio-based programs, and a whole lot more. An easy way for you to check those out and consider supporting our work, you can visit our most important links page. You can visit our website, www.pcast.com/most-important-links. Again, www.pcast.com/most-important-links. All right, so that brings us to the end of this month's episode. And I want to say thank you so much for hanging with us on our episode as we talked about skills and abilities. So as we wrap up here, I want to remind you, my name is Randy Mahoney Jr., and you've been watching and listening to the Work with Purpose podcast. As we finish up, I want to remind you of 2 quick things. Number 1, you've been made with purpose, so work with purpose. And then number 2 is this: the best work that you can ever do is to serve someone else with your skills and your abilities, and to do all that for the glory of Jesus Christ. I'll see you next time.